All right, good morning. My contemplation this morning is stop losing money on solid mineral export. I experienced solid mineral for many years. I started selling solid mineral in 2010, but I stopped commodity export just before COVID. I've not done commodity since then, and it's deliberate, even though I've helped a lot of clients that is still doing commodity. I have some clients even building factory right now that we work with to start exporting commodity just after COVID. Not that commodity is bad, I just prefer to do finished good, which is why I also ask our client to do it. So I'm talking about solid minerals because of the experience I had during the period that I shipped solid minerals. Now, first of all, for you to do any export, the first thing I would recommend you do is to be export ready. First, export ready. Export readiness assessment can be conducted online. It's available free of charge. If you need a link to it, you can chat me. Send me a DM. I will drop it across. I'll drop it for you. Or you can visit 3timpest.com under services. You will see the 3timpest.com under services. Why is this important? When you are export ready, you will have been able to see all the area you need to put in place, or things you need to put in place, an area of readiness. Because the idea is, you need to know, okay, it's like doing a diagnosis. You are doing a diagnosis, and you're able to diagnose an ailment. That gives you an idea of how to fix it, because you are able to diagnose the ailment. If you're not able to diagnose the ailment, you won't be able to fix it. That's exactly what I meant when I said you need to do readiness assessment. Now, conduct your market research. Which mineral do you want to export? If you are looking at mineral export, I would recommend lithium, I recommend lead, I recommend zinc, I recommend manganese, I recommend copper, I recommend zircon sand, tin, columbite. These are commonly exported solid minerals from Nigeria. Do your research to be able to know which market are you shipping to. But more importantly, my focus this morning is the export, the shipment, not finding buyers. I'll do another video on finding buyers. You need to know what are documentation required to export that product. In Nigeria, for example, listening to me from Nigeria, for example, for you to trade, to be able to be in custody of mineral, you need a mineral trading license. For you to export, you need a permit, because you can choose to trade locally, the mineral trading license. But for you to export, you need a permit. You need a permit. Now, to get the permit to export, you will need to provide a lot of documentation. One of the most important documentation is the documentation that shows you're a taxpayer. More importantly, that royalty has been paid to the federal government on that mineral you want to export. If royalty is not paid to the federal government, mineral you want to export, you won't be able to export it. Custom will not authorize the shipment of that product if you are not able to demonstrate that this product that you want to export is if you're unable to demonstrate that this product you want to export is that royalty has been paid on it. And what I mean by that is you are expected to pay royalty. Actually, you are supposed to pay royalty on any time you are trying to export. You are supposed to pay royalty for the minerals you are trying to export. You are supposed to pay royalty to the federal government. So that I'm focusing now on documentation. Apart from the NXP, performer invoice, export license, all those ones are easy. The one that will take you time to get is the in fact, we had a client that had this issue 2 years ago. He was exporting lithium. We were working with him on the logistics. We help client to do their shipment. He brought the good to Lagos. The good got to Lagos before he realized he needed an export permit. Now, let's get that off the way. The major issue is quality control. Quality control. Quality control. One of the major reasons people lose money in export is quality control. I'll give you an example of my experience. My first solid mineral shipment was a zinc ore transaction I did to China in 1999. No, 2010/11. No, 10/11. A solid mineral that we export to China. It was a zinc ore transaction. Now, and learned a very interesting lesson from that. And the lesson is, the the item of export, when you mine, it coming out like rock, like stone, coming out like rock and stone. Because it comes out like rock and stone, the tendency is to pack it like that for export. That will be the biggest mistake you'll be making if you export that way. Biggest mistake you'll be making if you export that way. If you're exporting minerals and you're not processing it into secondary product like lead to lead ingot, the least you can do is to crush it to become sand-like, to be like quartz or sandy, very fine particles. What that does is that it makes it easier to be able to sample for analysis, because quality will be tested in Nigeria and the same quality will be tested in China. When you are testing in Nigeria, if you don't crush to sand-like, the product will not be homogeneous. It will be heterogeneous because of the different sizes. When it gets to China, the people are going to crush it to sand-like and it will become homogeneous. Because it is homogeneous now, when they test it, you see those parts that were not of good quality before, because it's mineral. Some will be high quality, low quality, because it developed under the ground. You see those parts that are low quality will be mixed with high quality when it is crushed and mixed together. So when they take sample, the tendency for the quality to be lower in China is very high, because you did not crush it to sand-like in Nigeria. And that happened to me, and I lost money because of that. I worked with a partner at the time, and he had to send crusher from China to Nigeria that we're now using to crush. And when we start crushing, it reduces the margin of error between Nigerian quality and China quality. Max 3%, 2%, 1%. Sometimes even Nigeria quality will be higher than China. But most of the time, it's not more than 3%, which is tolerable. So for example, I chip zinc ore, my purity in Nigeria is 42, and it got to China is 40. That's okay. I should have factored that in my pricing. And I'll talk about pricing shortly. I'll factor that in my pricing. If you didn't factor that in, the chance of losing money is high. Because when they test, sometimes, in fact, my first experience, the zinc when we tested in Nigeria was, I think it was 40. Yeah, 40. When it got to China and they tested it, it was 34. 6%. It was a loss, of course. 6%. Why? Because we exported it crushed to sand-like. Sorry, rocky, lumpy, not crushed to sand-like. So if you are not going to lose money in mineral, this for me is a cardinal principle. It's an article of faith. It's too important not to do. Don't even try it. Else, it won't be a funny experience for you. It won't be a funny experience. It won't be a funny experience. Then, pricing. One of the things you must learn when you're exporting mineral is the pricing structure. And I'll use lead ore, for example. Let's assume that the price, I agree with the buyer, is $1,500 per metric ton. For 60% purity of lead, $1,500 per metric ton for 60% purity of lead. That contract will also stipulate, if my purity goes above 60%, they can pay me $10. If my purity goes below 60%, they will deduct $15. So if I agree to ship 60, which is $1,500, and eventually I shipped 55%, that means it's 5% lower than the agreed purity. What is the penalty for reduced purity? $15. 5 times $15, $75. So I will be paid $1,500 minus $75. So I will be paid $1,425 per metric ton. But if I shipped 65% purity. It will be $9 times 5 extra purity. That's 45. It will be $1,500 plus 45. That's $1,545. Do you notice something here? The fact that there is penalty for reduction in agreed purity and there is compensation for increased purity. Now, what this means is that the buyer can buy lower quality. Sometimes he can even say that he will buy up to 40%, lower quality up to 40%, but below 40, rejection. That means if I ship 40% instead of 60, that will be 20 times 15. That's 300. 20 purity difference times 15. That's $300. I will now be selling $1,200 instead of $1,500. That can be a loss because if I have paid more in Nigeria to export, I will lose money. That's why when you are exporting minerals, your invoice you issue after shipment is called the provisional invoice. Provisional. Because I'm doing it based on the purity I assess in my country. Then when the good arrive and I get the purity at destination, then I can get the final invoice. Now, why this is important is this. If you don't understand this, you can now see the reason why I said you must crush to sand like. The reason I say you should crush to sand like is the pricing. The pricing can screw you and make you incur losses. If you're going to stop loss from selling mineral export, this is what you must do. You know, when we talk about mentoring, export coaching, the reason we do mentoring and export coaching is, these are priceless information. These are information that can help you to remain in business or to be out of business, particularly international trade. And that's why it's important that you acquire the right knowledge, which is why we do what we call from export novice to export legend. From export novice to export. And we have a number of export legends. Clients that we started with who today are exporting. Some are exporting finished goods like tea, some are exporting soap, some are exporting minerals, some are exporting commodities, agro commodities. Why is this so important? This is so important because what you don't know can actually mess you up. And because international trade is knowledge intensive, I would recommend you invest in learning. It's an investment, it's not wasted. It might appear pricey, but it's not wasted. It's an investment. Thank you very much. This is the my conference this morning. See you in the next video and bye for now.